Let's do this. Hello,
Here
everybody.
we are.
Hello. How's everybody doing? We're here.
We're here.
That's a good thing. That's a start, right?
Yes.
At least we are here. That's good. We can work our way from there, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Got some people coming online. Good evening to you. Glad to have you connecting up with us. As always, let us know you're there. Let us see who's there, who's hanging out with us tonight. But we're happy to have everyone that's joining us. It is 8 o'clock, now 8:02, Saturday night. And as usual, here we are in the chair.
Yes.
Getting ready to have some good conversations about some things. So how's everybody doing? Hope you're doing all right. If you have a topic, by the way, you can drop it to us as well. If you have something you'd like to talk about, we'd like to hear about that as well. You can also call us. Connect up that way.
Yes.
Yep. So our number
Chat,
stays the same. We just either way, you can comment to us, you can call us. Either way, we want to connect up with you. But we've got some more things to talk about. Thankful last week we had a lot of people that caught the show after the show.
After the show. Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess, sometimes, the weather is nicer and people are out and, by the time they come home,
right,
they'll catch us then.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, like 700 or so people I think we reached last time.
Oh, wow.
So anyway,
good.
welcome to everybody. If you're catching us now or later, if it's dark out by the time you see this, whatever the case may be, send us something, say hello, let us know you're around, let us know you enjoyed it, hopefully. And if you have any thoughts and opinions, as always, you are welcome to share your opinion.
Yes, please do.
Regardless of what it may be, good, bad, or ugly.
Exactly.
Agree, disagree, whatever the case may be.
We want to hear your side of the story or your perspective.
Your opinion. And you don't always have to agree with ours.
Exactly.
We don't always agree.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. No, we don't.
We get off there and still okay.
Yes. We can agree to disagree.
All right.
We do it pretty well.
Pretty well, I would say.
So we don't get angry,
Right.
But you know what? When you learn both sides of an argument, you learn.
That's true.
A lot of things.
That's true.
Yes.
You learn from it, just from hearing and listening and trying to understand.
Exactly. From the opposing opinion, the opposing perspective.
The legal part of you is talking now. I hear that coming.
Yeah.
So how was your day today?
My day was good. I had a good day. Yeah.
Good.
Yes. Week. Good week. Yeah. Mom and I went shopping today and she was pretty happy with that.
I guess she was.
I'm glad that she is feeling back to her normal self. She's shopping again.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
No, we're partners in crime. So that's what it is.
So we know she's healthy again because she's shopping. Right? It's like most people, it's like they start eating or something like that.
No,
she starts shopping.
She's shopping. She's looking good. She's looking like herself again. And you know what I think it was?
What?
I think we were both having separation anxiety.
You think that's what it was?
I do.
So everybody's doing better now.
Everybody's doing better now. You happy, babe?
I'm happy.
Yes.
Yeah. My week, my day, my back is killing me.
Oh.
I'm sitting here and you keep seeing me do things like
the grimace.
It's because my back is killing me because I was working outside. This is like the first chances I've gotten to work on my own house.
Yes.
Like the whole season. I've been working on other people's houses, God's house, everybody else's house, but my house. And so now I'm working on my house and I pulled out, last week I pulled out 3 bushes. This week, and that was after working the church. I worked at church last Saturday morning, came home, pulled out 3 bushes, kind of ran out of steam. This week I went outside, I pulled out 7 more bushes. So we got 10 bushes out right now. And,
on the curb.
Yeah. So my back is like saying, you went a little crazy. But 'tis the season.
Nice hot tub.
Yeah, I think it's that when you trim them with the trimmer,
and you're holding
that weight out in front of you, stretched out for a couple hours.
Yes.
I think that's even worse than the digging up the bushes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm okay. I'll be okay.
Yes.
Hot water will solve my problems.
Yes.
So
hot
anyway,
water, nice massage, you'll be fine.
We'll be good. We'll be good. So all right, just stall and give everybody time. See some people still coming on. Don't forget to say hello. Let us know you're there. Glad to have you connected up. However you are, you can share with somebody as well. Let them know we're here on Facebook. I almost said on the air. Well, I guess it's air.
Well, pretty much.
It's on the wire, whatever you want to put it, on your
it's
device.
On the web. It's on
We're here on your device, right?
It's in the atmosphere.
It's in the atmospheric something somewhere coming off satellites all over the world.
Yes.
So anyway, what are we going to talk about tonight? A few things we can talk about. There have been some interesting, further revelations on cases throughout the country of being killed by police.
Yes.
In the midst of being taken captive or taken into whatever the case may be. It's really scary.
It really is. It is very scary.
Because a lot of these things start out as kind of this dormant, calm, whatever. And the next thing you know, somebody's dead.
Exactly.
It keeps happening. It's not a one-time off thing, which you like to think. It just seems to keep happening. So there's a couple more stories that came out. One we started talking about last week. That's continuing on. Another one that came out just a couple of days ago. And I didn't know, I had to go back and really read it because I wrote down the name, but didn't know the story, and then went back and saw the story. These stories are like, they're not good.
They're not.
And there's witnesses and, their video
cameras.
footage.
And the thing is that, and it continues to happen.
Right.
But some of these, some of the cases happened, a few years ago, before George Floyd. And now that, the situation has been so obvious as to what's going on, people are actually, making some noise about it.
Yeah. And some of them really are not, well, some of them happened in the past, but they're just now coming to trial and things like that.
Exactly.
So they're now being seen in a much broader degree.
Right.
Some of them are not from that long ago
Some
either.
Some of them are very, very current.
And, we're only picking up here and there. I mean, there are other stories that continue to come out, especially like on the other side of the country. We don't necessarily hear about things on the other side of the country as much as we hear about things that are happening here. But these stories just keep showing up, and it's, it's really disheartening is one word I would use to describe it.
Yes. It's horrendous.
That's another word. Yeah. So, I mean, Ronald Green was the one we started talking about. You're going to keep coming on with that. Ronald Green was the one that we started talking about last week. And Ronald Green was from Louisiana.
Yes.
He was apparently on his way home and somehow ended up stopped or chased by the police. Because he wouldn't stop, so they say, or whatever the case may be. And the story was that they wanted to pull him over. He wouldn't pull over. He's running away from the police and ends up in a car accident. And the original story was that he died as a result of the injuries of the car accident.
Exactly.
And then some things started coming out later after that, including video footage from the policeman's cameras, body cams.
Well, weren't they trying to withhold some of that, the video, and
I'm assuming
they didn't want to reveal. Yes,
right.
Exactly. And I understand that it kind of leaked out.
Well, the family was asking for the footage, footage. I'm
and
not
they
sure
wouldn't give it to them. They wouldn't give it to
where
them.
it leaked out or not, but this might have been the one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the family was demanding, wanted to see, blah blah blah, and they couldn't get it, and finally, it got out.
Right. And
once it got out, it showed a much different story than what they had been told.
Right.
And the story then indicated that, there was this big altercation between him and the police after this accident happened.
Right.
And it was, very violent between them, and he was tased several times and beat and
drugged him by
around,
his feet, dragged him around. It was awful.
It's just these horrible things that were happening to him while he was already being held captive, with cuffs on and things like that. And this very common discussion about on his stomach,
in the
people
prone,
behind him.
They call that the prone position. Yes.
And them saying, I can't breathe, until all of a sudden, he succumbs to all these injuries and this inability to breathe. So the story is getting more and more familiar. Now, we were saying last week that this would be interesting to see. First of all, the story itself, if you really read the story, seems almost even more brutal than George Floyd.
Yes. And they stepped on him. They literally the police officer stepped on this man like he was a piece of garbage.
And they talked about them. They've got things that they
All
said
them names
in terms of the
and
whole situation. It's
just brutal, just
a
awful.
lack of concern or care about people,
About right,
humans in general.
human, yes.
You know, at least this one.
The lack of
right. And so they
humanity.
the way that he's treated, et cetera, so forth. And so this all comes to court. The police department now this happened in 2019, but the 3 policemen involved were just charged like within the past week or 2.
Right.
And now they had to go in and they pled not guilty. The interesting thing here, now we were saying about this case, said the other case, the George Floyd case, took place in Minneapolis.
Right.
And we were saying that a lot of what they were charged against, et cetera, depended on the laws of the state. And we said with this next case and others, because laws are so state to state, it'll be interesting and important to see how they're treated in one state versus another.
Right.
So now in Louisiana, and first of all, in Milwaukee, the police department said, "Oh, that's not us. We don't train that way. That's got nothing to do with us." In Louisiana, the police department is standing behind the officers and saying, no, the truth's not really out. There's more to be learned on this. And we can't say that there is or isn't. So we'll see, right, over the course of time.
Yes.
But there is a lot of footage. They keep saying, no, they don't know the whole story. There's footage and showing the whole story. So they're standing behind them and saying that, what they were doing wasn't so wrong. So we're going to see what happens in this Ronald Green case as this will come to the forefront eventually, not yet. But when it does, it'll be interesting to see, again, what the story is, and how this is treated by the court system.
Exactly. Yes.
Because this isn't even just about the police departments. It's about the whole court system.
The whole system. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
It's how they police. It's the laws and rules that surround how they are treated and how a situation is treated. It's the judges, it's the jury that are all being tested to see how
from the top down.
Right, from the top down. And we've seen cases in the past as well where it never even got past the DA to get for certain things, not specific to this type of crime, but certain things never even got past the DA to say, okay, there's something here to actually charge them with. So in this case now, charges have been brought up. This is going to be brought before court, and we're going to have to watch and continue to see how this is treated.
And continue to see. But look at everything that this family has to go, the families have to go through in order to get justice or some type of resolve for the death of their
just to get a true investigation.
Just to get a real investigation. It's taking years.
Right, because they'll take this stuff, and they have this certain evidence and just be like, nothing really happened. They hear one side of the story, which is police officer side of the story, and they move on.
Well, they even have to fight to get the evidence.
Exactly. Well, for somebody to really pay attention to it has to become visible before somebody will actually, take it into consideration, and so on. A lot of these things, if they don't get public, they don't get treated the same way.
Exactly. And unless the public makes noise and brings it to the media and to the media's attention and to the world's attention, nothing really happens.
Right. And the biggest thing that's doing that now is video footage.
Exactly.
Because people all the time are saying, they killed my son, they killed my son, they did this, that. And people are like, well, maybe, we tend as a culture, not our culture, but as a society, the United States, we tend to trust the police officer.
Exactly. And then you have people that will say, well, the victim, well, he shouldn't have ran. Well, he shouldn't have done this, or he shouldn't have done that. But you're shooting these people sometimes in the back, from behind, and you're killing them with their hands cupped. Well, that's the point.
These stories bring up all kinds of additional fear.
Yes. And when this guy, Ronald Green, was saying, I'm afraid, I'm scared, I'm scared.
Right.
The man was petrified.
Right. Which is
people are petrified.
Why he didn't want to stop in the first place.
Exactly. Right? People are really, have really been terrorized. We feel terrorized by the police.
There's a lot of trauma.
A lot of trauma. You don't want to have any type of altercation, not even altercation. You don't want to call the police for anything because it could turn out to be deadly. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Very deadly.
So now there's another story that just opened up again this week on a man named Emmanuel Ellis.
Wow, I have relatives in Tacoma.
Call him. this is a story just came out. A man was killed by the police on video back in March of 2020, last year. This is like a few weeks before George Floyd. Right. And so this story is, I don't want to show footage, but I'm going to read this story because this story is so crazy. And again, there is video footage now that's coming out that validates the story. So just reading this story kind of says it all. So it says, while walking home, oh, let me show it. I'll let everybody read it along with us. Sorry about that. So let me pop this on for you. So it says, while walking home, Ellis came across Burbank and Collins, who are police officers who were sitting in their police vehicle. Prosecutor said both Burbank and Collins claimed that they were stopped at a red light when Ellis suddenly punched the passenger side window of their car and began attacking them when they got out to confront him, according to the probable cause statement. But prosecutors said that account is contradicted by statements from 3 civilian witnesses, which they say are corroborated by video evidence. So the cops are saying, hey, this guy came up and just started punching on our window. So we came out, to deal with him. That's their story, right?
Yeah.
Prosecutors said witnesses described the initial encounter between Ellis and the 2 officers as peaceful and respectful. But as Ellis began to walk away, witnesses said Burbank abruptly swung open the car door, hitting Ellis from behind and knocking him to his knees, according to prosecutors, and that Burbank then got up on top of Ellis as he tried to stand up. What happened next was captured on cell phone videos, a doorbell camera, and dispatch radio traffic, according to the probable cause statement. Okay, so according to everyone, this other evidence, something happened that set them off towards him. He was walking away, and they suddenly kind of went after him. So keep the story. Prosecutors said Burbank wrapped his arms around Ellis, lifted him into the air, drove him back down onto the pavement while striking him with one of his fists. Collins then moved in towards Ellis and brought his weight down on him, the other police officer, with Ellis underneath them. Collins hit his head with his fist several times, according to the probable cause statement. Prosecutor said one bystander who was filming the encounter on her cell phones cried out, "Hey, stop. Oh my God, stop hitting him. Stop hitting him. Just arrest him." Collins then wrapped his arms around the front of Ellis's neck. Locked his hands together while squeezing. Just look at all the stuff that happens. Applying a lateral viscular neck restraint, according to the probable cause statement. Prosecutor said video evidence shows Ellis was not fighting back and never attempted to strike the officers. And one witness said he didn't even appear to be defending himself. Burbank deployed his taser on Ellis. It gets worse, who had put his arms up in a surrender type position as Collins continued to squeeze his neck, according to the probable cause statement. This story just gets worse and worse. Because after the taser probes jolted Ellis with electricity for 5 seconds, prosecutors said Collins let go of Ellis' neck and his head fell limply toward the ground, and that Collins then pushed his arm onto the back of Ellis's head or neck, pressing his face into the pavement. Officers called for the backup as they held Ellis's arm behind his back and pressed down on his body. Ellis screamed and writhed, prosecutors said. Burbank then jolted Ellis again with the taser, second time. Okay, he's screaming and writhing. He just got tased. They got him holding on the ground. And so what do we need to do? We need to tase him again because he's obviously resisting.
Exactly.
Right? Ellis screamed out again, his body and legs writhing as the officers continued to hold him down, according to the probable cause statement. Prosecutors said a doorbell camera on a house across the street captured Ellis telling the officers that he could not breathe. He is heard saying clearly, here we go again. Can't breathe, sir, can't breathe. Less than 15 seconds later, prosecutors said Ellis can be heard again pleading with the officers saying, either breathe, sir, or please, sir. One of the officers then tells him to shut the blank up, man, according to the, so he can't, tell him you can't breathe. We don't want to hear it, right? Rankin was among the officers who responded as backup. This is the third. Prosecutors said he ran over, started pressing on Ellis's back, getting on top of him, almost like a seated position. Ellis, who was in handcuffs at that point, can be heard telling the officers again, I can't breathe, and pleading with them, can't breathe, sir, according to the probable cause statement. Prosecutors said Rankin later recalled hearing Ellis making really strange animal grunting noises. Can't breathe. And saying a very calm and normal voice that he could not breathe. Rankin then said he responded, if you're talking to me,
then
you can breathe just fine, according to the probable cause statement. This story gets worse.
Oh my God.
As Rankin continued to apply pressure to Ellis' back, prosecutors said other officers tied Ellis's arms and legs together and put a spit hood on his head.
Oh my God.
The brand of spit hood that was used on Ellis includes instructions that specifically state that it should not be used on anything having difficulty breathing. Prosecutors said Ellis remained tied on his stomach with his face covered by the spit hood for 6 to 9 minutes until paramedics from the local fire department arrived on the scene. Ellis' last known words were the same plea he had repeated throughout the incident: can't breathe. Almost done. The paramedics recorded Ellis's condition as unconscious and unresponsive. They asked Rankin to remove the restraint so they could administer an IV and attempt to resuscitate Ellis.
This sounds familiar.
But Rankin resisted, according to the prosecutors, telling them he did not want to get him out of cuffs in case he starts fighting again. He is out. He needs to be resuscitated.
And he's going to start fighting.
Eventually relented and helped remove the restraints, but paramedics were unable to revive him. Pierce County medical examiner later ruled Ellis' death a homicide due to hypoxia or lack of oxygen caused by physical restraint. Although blood collected from Ellis showed the presence of methamphetamine, the medical examiner said his death. So this is very similar to George Floyd.
Yes.
Okay, he's got a methamphetamine
intoxication,
but he says it could not, likely not have caused by that,
right.
Likely caused by not being able to breathe due to these physical strengths. Forget the fact that he was tased twice, he was beat down, and that before all this stuff was happening. And so they have been charged. The first 2 officers have been charged with second-degree murder. The third officer that came up and helped with third-degree manslaughter, first-degree manslaughter, I don't remember one of the two. And so here we go again, a case very similar, like 3 weeks before, this is in Washington, a case that was very similar to the George Floyd case, which again has remained quiet except for the fact that now video footage has come out. And if you look, by the way, at the history of the case between then and now, you know, it was, again, like you said, it was the family that was pushing, we've got to look at this, we've got to look at this, we need this to be looked at. And at first it kind of wasn't looked at. And then they were forced to look at, to do a full investigation. They turned over the investigation on it. And then further, I think it went to the next level of the state or something like that, that looked at it. And finally, they took this to actual prosecution. But again, you had all these sequence of events that it took.
To get to that point.
Right, to get them to finally acknowledge this as and investigate this thoroughly, and then, you know, to now prosecute. It's taken, what, again, over, this is May, so it's been over a year. Right, since this came out. So it's another case very similar to the George Floyd case in so many different ways. And it's terrible.
It is.
You know, so again, we get the situation where we're going to have to see how the court system treats this case in another state with very similar conditions to what we saw in Minneapolis. Right. But it's terrible.
It's terrible. It is. It's awful.
So the question is, you know, how long is this going to go on? You know, and again, I'll say it's the behavior of the police, but it's the whole system that has to be investigated, because the system is allowing for these types of behaviors.
And and that's why it continues.
Right. And treatment of of people.
Exactly.
Right.
It actually works to the advantage of the officers.
Well, and we talked about that before. There's reasons why it protects them, right? But how far does that go? And how have you gone, when you go too far? So these guys said, this guy came and started banging on our window, and as a result of that, we went out and we killed him. we beat him down, and he was fighting. They made it sound like he's resisting and all this stuff, and therefore we had to do this. Now you've got witnesses and you've got video footage, including their own, which suggests, wait a minute, that doesn't seem to be the story at all here. You know, so a guy he's next to the police. Think about it. He's next to police. He's not even doing some crime. He's standing next to the police car. Right. And they're talking. And he turns to walk away, and they ram him with the door, and all of a sudden they're taking him down and all this stuff. And he's trying not to resist, according to the people around and the evidence. And they end up killing him. It's crazy
It
to
really
think.
is.
It makes you
It
not
is.
want to be near a police car.
It really
Under
does. You
any
don't even want to
circumstance.
see a police car, you know? You remember
Coming
a
through your
couple last
neighborhood,
week,
right.
you and I was driving and there was a police car behind me.
Right.
And I kind of like turned, I
Yeah, well, you
turned
didn't
off.
kind of like,
I
you
did.
turned off.
I turned off and went to the,
Turn the
to
other
the, where the ice
direction.
cream was. To the
Right.
ice cream
Into
parlor,
the parking lot.
ice cream parking lot. And David's like, what are we getting ice cream? I'm like, well, no, there's a police car behind me and I don't want it behind me.
Wow.
I'm like, I have a black man in the car.
Right.
I was looking out. I was protecting my brother.
And you know,
my man.
by the way,
and myself.
Both of them were musicians for churches. Both of them. Both of those cases, they were musicians.
Oh my goodness!
Their churches, they had families, they had kids, you know, and all this craziness. Now, it doesn't make them perfect and squeaky clean, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know.
Yes, it's, you know, it just seems so demonic to me. Why? What kind of heart? Where is your heart? Where is it that you could anybody could just want to beat somebody down and kill them?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want that on your conscience? That has to be some type of that's a bad spirit. It's crazy.
What makes that resonate in you? And some of our folks were commenting last week about this. You know, is it the policeman or is it the police system? Right? Is it the person? Is the system?
It's all of it.
Do they come in crazy like this, or do they get made crazy by the job and the environment and the people they're working with? It's a mess.
All of the above.
All of the above. Right.
All of the above.
You know, so you create, in essence, these people that are prepared to be savage. You know, they say that when people go like overseas in the army,
yes,
and they go out on the field,
and they come back,
and they have trained them to be ready to face the enemy,
yes,
and to take on the enemy, even kill the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that happen in the psyche of some people when they turn on to that and prepare themselves mentally, emotionally, because remember, they don't want to even hesitate.
Right.
So they have to be so geared up
to
and
be
prepared.
on.
They can't decide at the moment whether they're ready to kill somebody.
Right.
They have to already be ready. And so that changes sometimes their psyche. And some of them, in fact, when they leave that, it's hard to just flip it back.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, some of them, they come back different.
Right. And so you think about, you know, police officers along the same lines in many cases, especially, you know, if they're working in particularly violent areas where they have to be prepared to defend themselves, they have to be prepared to face someone
or protect,
right, and to be in situations. So it's one thing to train, you know, to that discipline. It's another thing, you can carry your psyche too far into it. And so, and some of it's been saying, in fact, there was a movie on just before we started this where something like this had happened, and they were saying this man had gotten in such this case. It was a soldier who was so ready for this, and he was a sharpshooter trained in the army, and the whole time he was out, he never got to shoot his gun one time. And it caused this inner frustration. And when he came home, he had been accused now of just going crazy and just, you know, going on a spree, shooting a spree.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he never was able to satisfy that rage that was ready to just pounce. And from a police officer standpoint, again, if you have kind of set yourself up in this mindset, I am ready to defend, I'm ready to take on somebody, and it never shows up, you can almost create that same situation so that then you behave that way.
Right.
And perhaps you even convince yourself that this is a threat that I need to
release this.
Right. Yes. Or I need to attack this. Yes. So you make somebody a target who really wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking at the psychology of it because you asked the question, how do people get like this? But it's crazy. But there's a huge systematic issue here. Now, on the other side, well, going along with this, a little different story is Eric Riddick. Eric Riddick is the man who just got out of prison this week.
Yeah, I heard a little about that.
29 years in jail.
29 years.
29 years in jail. And again, we're talking now about the whole system, not just any given police officer, but this is Eric Riddick. He went to jail at 22. Right? So what he's now
22 years old.
Right?
They just took
that makes him like 51 or so now?
Yes, they took his life. They took his youth.
So the story on him was there was a murder that took place. I think he's in
22 years
Pennsylvania.
old.
And he was apparently like 2 blocks away from the whole scene.
Right.
But a witness came forward and gave 4 different scenarios of what had happened in this story. And the fourth one was, it was Eric Riddick that did it, right? And so the police went after him. They brought him in, and basically they made a case around him, and they took it to court, and he was found guilty. Now, just after he was found guilty, the guy who had gave these 4 stories recanted his story. So you'd think, okay, bring this forward, get it straight, boom, boom, boom. He didn't find out about it till later, and there was a certain amount of time available to be able to produce, whatever to appeal in whatever fashion. He didn't find out in time. And so by the time he found out this guy had recanted, came back to the courts, the court said it's too late. So whether you're guilty or not now, you're
too
stuck,
late. You're right.
Right. And then after that, a couple of years ago, I think 2009, 2019, I can't remember. After that,
one of the things, statute of limitations.
2016, right? They got new ballistics evidence that came out, which showed that based on, the angle, the shooting, everything that had been alleged, he could not have done it even if he was where the witness said he was at.
That he could not have.
So not only was it recanted that he did it, now ballistics evidence shows that even if the guy was, didn't recant, it couldn't have been true.
Right.
So now you think, okay, let the man out of jail, right?
Right.
Nope.
Exactly. No.
Because they said that the evidence was available. The ballistics were available at the time of the actual case. And it's not their fault that you didn't analyze it right. Right. So,
right. Is it?
So as a result of that, he stays in jail. So it's gone all the way up until now. Right. And finally, this has gone through enough people, and people have heard enough evidence. By the way,
I haven't followed this.
One of the reasons this story came up is because one of the I forget his name, was one of the rappers.
Oh, I did hear a little bit.
Meek Mill was actually, when he was going through his stuff, he was in jail with this guy. And he heard his story. And when he heard his story, he was the one that came up when he got out, compelled his lawyers to go work with the other lawyers to help get this man out. And so they ended up taking it back to the courts. The courts, and by the way, the courts for a while kept saying, the courts were almost admitting, yeah, he's probably innocent, but due to this and due to that, there was
statute of limitations,
right, all these different things, we can't let him out. We can't let him out. So finally, what happened? Finally, what got him off is he had to agree that, I guess somehow the case ended up finally thrown out. They were going to retry it, and so instead of retrying the case, he pleaded guilty to third degree manslaughter with time served. So he gets out, but he has to do that, even though the evidence
shows that he's innocent.
If he had gone to court, he probably would have become not guilty, but he was like, I ain't gonna go through all this. I just went out. And so third degree manslaughter, time served, but now he still has that on his record, but at least he's out of jail.
Yes.
And I can understand where after 29 years, he's like, look, is whatever gets me out of jail. It doesn't matter what you call me. It doesn't matter what you say. Just let me out of jail. And the interesting thing is his wife they're still married. That's his wife on the right. I'm not showing the video anymore, but that's his wife. I think that's his mother on the other side. And they're still married. So she stuck with this man in jail for 29 years.
Well, she believed
That's pretty amazing.
That is very amazing.
So he's out of jail now. But again, we go back to the whole systematic thing here. We got to get Joe Paul on to talk about this.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Because, the whole system that is in so many ways working against someone who may be very innocent, hasn't done anything. In these cases, and the uphill battle to really find yourself to get free, to get innocent, proven innocent, et cetera, so forth. You're beaten up by police officers for doing nothing, right? Literally to not only it used to be beat up, now you're getting killed.
You're getting killed
for doing nothing. You're in the system that the system is constantly working against you. It works for the police officers. It works for everybody else. It works against you.
Yes.
And so even if you didn't do anything, you can be wrapped up in the system.
Exactly.
So we keep making this point that there needs to be an overhaul to the whole system.
Exactly.
Right?
I agree. Yes.
Now, here's something I want to go just flip it a little bit to the other side of the equation, right? Where New York State has now been doing away with cash bail. So they're fighting the other side. And this is the thing that amazes me, first of all, about politics in general, right? Because everything is about the politics and everything is always to the extreme. It's never to let's rationally figure out what's the right thing to do.
Right.
It's one extreme or the other,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Either we are like doing too much or we're doing nothing.
Right.
And so New York State is basically done away with cash bail. And the argument is that it's unfair to people. It's unequal to people. People can't afford bail. Right. And so it's unfair to have these cash bails where people who don't have any money are now stuck in jail. People who do have money can put up $100,000, $1 million and walk around
home
free
or whatever.
Right.
So what are they proposing?
So, I mean, that makes some logical sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Cash maybe is just not the best way to do it. But the idea of bail is to keep people who are a flight risk.
Right. Right. So
from running away.
Exactly.
Right. So what New York State has done is gone the exact opposite way. With no cash bail, there basically is no bail.
Exactly, no cash bail. So
they're not using anything.
You're in jail. There's a song. You're in jail without no bail.
No, you walk.
You're gonna walk.
You walk.
Wow.
So it's the whole opposite now. So anybody with nonviolent crimes, anybody with misdemeanors, there is no such big thing as bail. You go in, they service you a ticket, you walk out the door, right? And so now it's the total opposite. And it's not like we're keeping you in jail. It's like we're letting everybody go. And the issue is if you have people who are repeat offenders and things like that,
right,
you just let them go back out on the street. So all they do is go back out, do whatever they're going to do again. You bring them back. Okay. So as an example to this, we had a case here in Rochester just recently, right? With all this carjacking. Right. Where this carjacking was going on, these guys had been stopped for that. They had been given an appearance ticket, walked out the door. They walk out the door. They go back, carjack somebody else. Somebody gets killed.
Yes, I remember that.
Right.
Yes. They
go to try and find them. Guess where they are? At the airport. On their way out because they had been let go. Right.
Wow.
And so here's the thing, so you go from one extreme
to the next,
to the other, right?
Yes.
When the question is supposed to be, are you a flight risk, right? And so money was a deterrent from somebody just going out or somebody posting bail for you. They're like watching you to make sure you come back because they got the money on the line, whatever. We throw away the money. So now we let anybody go. It would seem to me, right, there should be some kind, you should go back. I mean, maybe it's not the money, but go back to the whole concept, right, of are you a flight risk or aren't you?
Right.
And you can, first of all, the judges, because the judges are complaining because they have no control now. They look at a person, they know they've been here 6 times, right? They know that blah, blah, blah. And according to the law now, we got to let you go. Right. So should the judges, first of all, have some influence on a decision of whether they feel you're a flight risk or not? It used to be, right, they would come together, the defendant and the prosecutor would say, this is the reason why I think you stay in jail. This is the reason why I think that they should be set free. And then the judge would make a decision and relevant to a cash amount. So I would still think there would be an issue or a decision of, is this person a flight risk or not? And either to me, this is me, right? 3 options, right? Either I trust him, so I'm gonna let him go, right?
Right.
It's a minor thing. It's a minor misdemeanor. It's a minor whatever. Okay, we're gonna trust you enough to let you go. You haven't done anything in the past like this. You know, all these things, right? I trust you, but I want to verify. So I'm gonna put one of those things on your legs, right? And we trust you. We're gonna let you out, but we gonna know where you at,
right? We're gonna keep
just
track
in
of
case,
you.
right? Trust but verify,
right?
Or you don't trust, right? Based on your track record, based on the type of thing you've done, based on how many times you've done it. But should not a judge, an appropriate judge, be in a position to make a decision about how trustworthy someone is of flight risk? And they can, and obviously it's not just based on, well, I'm looking at you. And granted, a lot of people aren't going to want this to happen because they like the judges are racist. And so they're going to, I mean, those things are tough, but to really take completely out of the mix, right? But the reality is to just let people just go. It seems like you've gone from one extreme all the way to get to the other. Right. And there's got to be some rationale in between the two, so that you're not just letting people out on the streets. Right. Somebody saying someone didn't think it through, but they talked about this a lot and they were warned about this a lot. And by the way, the crime statistics thus far have said crime has gone up as a result of doing this. I think it's been about a year. And so, to me, it's back to politics. Right back. This is the reason you do this, because it's a political thing. And apparently there was bipartisan to the concept of, okay, cash bail is a problem. But then you go back to, I want our people to give us votes and therefore we're going to do this. And now we got all these people that are going to vote for us. It always comes back to politics and voting, which is crazy, crazy. Why can't we just do the right thing for the right reason?
Good question.
It's on and on and on with this craziness that we're going on. So we got all these things happening in the system, and you wonder why we can't get the system straight, because there's so many things and people that are pushing it in so many different directions, trying to get what they want out of it instead of dealing with what is right. Right. Exactly. So it's craziness. It's zany what's happening out here. So here, just more and more examples of why we need an overhaul of the whole system. Yes. The system is just crazy.
It really is. It is. It's crazy.
So, lots of things, and, we got to find a way to get the right voice to be able to really have the right.
Well, this is a big job.
But get things going.
Well, get it going, but it's a big job.
It's a huge job.
It is huge.
It's a huge job.
Because like I said, it is corrupt. It is wrong from the top down, and all the way and they're defending one another.
Right. So you have to, it's kind of like trying to, I hate to say it, trying to fix a piece of it is not going to do it. You have to look holistically. And that's why we keep talking about across not only individuals, cities, states. You got to look at the whole policing and judicial structure. Right. And say what's right and what's wrong about this. The problem is nobody truly has enough power to do it independently. The
who's going to do it? And exactly. Right? I mean, you're dealing with a very powerful system.
Right. And it has its own purposes and motives and motivations. And, the state to state issue, you can't deal with it purely from a national standpoint because each state is claiming they have rights to X, Y, and Z. The only way you can do it across the board is you have to get the House and the Senate, right, to agree, and they can't even agree on gun control. You believe, the crazy thing is we still, I've been watching all this stuff that's been happening with, not to knock it, but all these different things to protect like Asian Americans and all these things. Yes. And these laws we've been putting together to protect hate crimes against Asian people. And I think there's another one that they put through. We still don't even have an anti-lynching law in this country. Exactly. Come on, it just shows you, the politics of this is right. But how can you not even have an anti-lynching law in our government after centuries of this craziness, right? But yet we're going to jump up in 2 months.
Exactly. I was going to say that.
Together,
Yes. It's systematically designed against people of color.
It's politics.
But it's still, it's politics.
It's pushed by
but it's systematically
politics,
designed,
right,
against people of color.
Not to be funny, if you mess with certain people in this country, certain backgrounds and certain nationalities, you don't do it long because they rise up and people rise up, right? And it's just the reality that if you go and deal with certain cultures in this country, there is an uproar that gets a response very quickly. But, we struggle with this constant, struggle of trying to get, support and trying to be treated at least equally. It's a constant struggle.
It is. It really is. And for a country of which people of color have built, it's built on the backs of people of color. We have made contributions, and we're still ignored.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's really crazy. But as I go back to saying, it was systematically designed against us from the time, I hate to keep talking about slavery, from the time that we were taken from Africa and put on those ships. It was not designed for us to even still be here right now. And it was not designed for us to succeed. We were not supposed to survive that.
And the thing is, if we then complain about it, if we then raise our voice about it, if we then say, hey, this isn't right, and they're like, man, you guys need to calm down.
Exactly. Calm down. We like it the way it is.
What you acting so crazy about it?
No, why are you so hostile?
You need to relax, right? Y'all so getting all violent about everything. Come on, that's not the way you do it. So you have this constant cycle,
and it's a constant battle,
and battle that goes on, so it's crazy. It's crazy. So, I mean, you have all these different things that are going on. We see all these examples, and they keep coming up. And the only thing that is helpful right now is because there is all this push to bring these things to light. And as we're bringing them to light, because I keep saying, it's not like these things never happen until now.
Exactly.
Right?
It has
in terms of
always happened.
All these police deaths and things like that. It's not like these things, okay, they just started popping up. No, they're just now getting caught on footage where there's clear evidence of what's going on.
Exactly.
And so the story now
due to the camera phone,
right, all kind of phone, and body cameras,
all of this.
Which they're now being forced to wear and forced to turn on or automatically turning on.
Well, some of them are turning them off.
You still get this every now and then.
Turn the cameras off.
It wasn't working. And there's no explanation as to why the body camera footage wasn't on, why body cameras weren't on, all this kind of stuff. Because it's people don't always want, but it's because of these things now being documented and showing up in a clear and present way that these stories are now starting to show up more and more and more often. And that does have a tendency of turning the overall societal view on some of these things. It may be something legitimate to this, maybe something is happening and there does need to be change. And it takes that, going back to the times of Martin Luther King, when they were causing the plight of the South and the plight of African-American people to become a public and visible thing. It was, for example, when they did the march in Alabama and all the news people saw the bloodiness of what happened in that attack by the police department on those people just walking. It was those kind of things that brought the outrage that push the presidency and all and people to say, look, we got to do something, right? Because we can't just keep allowing this, because now everybody is seeing it.
Exactly.
Everybody is upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's standing up and saying this is too much, right? It's a crazy cycle of things we've gone through, and you keep, I from time to time I've heard more and more of the history of the politics of how some of these things have happened over the course of time, going back to emancipation and forward. When you look at the first few presidents that after Lincoln, the kind of stuff that happened in terms of, we're going to keep supporting, we got them free, woohoo. All right. But we're not going to go in now, so they were freed. And then, there's a time frame there where African-Americans were actually in the Senate. They were actually thriving, and people in the South got offended by it. And so they started that's back when, a lot of the stuff with the KKK actually started was after the fact.
Right.
And then they started coming up, and then, the next president says, from a political standpoint, I can't afford another war. So I'm not sending soldiers down there. When they didn't send the soldiers back down there, then the South and those who want to do what they want to do did what they wanted to do.
Right.
Right. And then they came crushing down. That's when you had all those attacks on, throughout the South. And as a result of that, you had all that they had fought for, it basically just gave back and let go and turned away from for the most part.
Right.
Until you get another guy comes in, and then he, it's all this back and forth. It's always politics.
Yes.
It's always
It is
political. It's crazy. So now, we talked
it's
about
political, but it's always at the expense of someone else.
Right. Versus
somebody
doing the right
exactly
thing.
Doing the right thing. Right.
We talked about, why there hasn't been a law passed for lynching. And again, it goes back, how can you do this Asian American law so quickly? You can't do this
so quickly.
Part of the issue is they're not just afraid of setting that law, but they're afraid of admitting guilt, which could cause liability, which could cause, somebody to be demanding that they be reimbursed for all these things. That's the reason they won't take a stand, is because they don't want to be put in a position to say, okay, our country really did something wrong here and we're guilty. And so they don't want to admit guilt. What you thinking?
With the Asian population. Okay. But yet they're not guilty of the atrocities.
But they don't have that same historical background, right? So they can say, oh yeah, we shouldn't do this. We'll write a law. We're behind you, right? We'll write a law. This has got to stop, right? Because they don't have that personal liability behind them that they have to stand up behind, right? To do this anti-lynching law, your brother is on. He's saying the anti-lynching law has been, presented 200 times, right? Why will they not do that? And they'll so quickly sign off on this other stuff,
right?
Because they don't want to step in a position of liability. They don't want to be in that position to admit
and it is
guilt,
right? And it is a different situation.
And so
this is so very current.
It's current and it's easy for them. It doesn't have the baggage for
exactly
them
exactly It's like if they admit to the guilt of what they've done to people of color, to Black people,
right?
Then you get into the whole reparations situation.
That's the point I'm making.
You know what I'm saying?
Now
they've got to pay up.
Exactly.
Which is something that we have been fighting for years.
Right.
So yeah.
So that
I get what you're saying.
The difference between the two.
Right.
It all is a matter of political positioning, right? And so that right now our country is just overwhelmed with political positioning. I'm trying to figure out, so a little bit different subject. And again, both sides, right? Hey, Bishop Clay, good to see you. Hey, listen, Biden this week released a $6 trillion budget.
Okay.
$6 trillion proposed budget. We do not have $6 trillion. We're not going to have $6 trillion. I mean, when you look at the stats behind this, we just want to spend we're going to spend our way out of this, and my boss is a financial nut. And so he dragged me into this discussion one time where he's done all this analysis of where the country stands financially and all this stuff. And you look at the trends of what's happening from a financial standpoint. We've done now these different, payments back to people, supplemental payments during the pandemic, right, to help people through, right, and we did 3 tranches of that. Now they want to do this stimulus package on top of that to get the economy moving again. And now I think, if I'm correct, I haven't heard the whole thing yet, but I think this is like 2-4, and this will be the next 2 trillion that's adding into this to make for 6 trillion. This is completely unheard of, number one. Number two, according to his financial analysis, the first 2 trillion that we did was enough to put everything in the economy back on track. So the next 2 billion that they're talking about for stimulus, and now this next 2 trillion are going to cause the economy to just go crazy. But it's going to go completely out of whack.
Right.
Number one, we are making money out of nowhere, right? And they keep justifying, well, we're going to do this, we're going to tax this. You are not going to make up $6 trillion
not happening
in taxes and say, oh no, we're not going to put anything on the poor people, on the middle class, and we're going to do it only on the rich people. It's not going to pay for itself.
No.
Number one. But the concept of spending this kind of money, and again, it's way over what's needed. You look at what's happening right now, right? We're coming out of a pandemic. People are getting jobs back, right?
Mm-hmm.
The stimulus has helped us survive the pandemic. People are spending money like right now, like they ain't gone through nothing.
Yeah.
Right? You can't,
Exactly.
people are traveling, they are overseas, they are out of the country,
the malls are
beaches,
packed. They're on
people
beaches.
are in the restaurants,
airports.
People are spending money like crazy right now. You were just saying this week about how you can't get anybody.
You can't get a
contractor to do anything
and on your home
because they are booked out. One of the guys said he was booked out through 2022.
Yes, exactly.
People are spending money, and this is not the rich people.
Exactly. You can't even get the supplies or whatever it is that you need to get the job done. You try to get a patio. There's certain, you can't even, supply and demand. And the demand is much higher than the supply right now.
Has gone ballistic.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The reason that the gas prices are up right now, it's actually twofold, because all these are twofold, because they shrunk down what they were producing because of the pandemic. People weren't asking for it. So they shrunk down, even with travel. They shrunk down number of available planes and pilots. They shrunk down production of all these supplies and materials. But the problem is now there has been a reversal, and the demand has not just come back. It is surging.
Yes.
People are spending money like crazy. So all of us who just survived the pandemic right now are spending money in every which way we can possibly come up with. We're traveling, we're building stuff, we're doing all this stuff.
Home improvements.
This is not just the rich people that's doing this. But at the same time as this is happening, they're saying we want to spend $6 trillion to get the economy back up and running. What's my point? It's politics. It's politics. It's not dealing with reality. It's not dealing with this is what we need. It's like, I'm going to spend money and get votes because people are going to be like, yeah, he's helping us poor people. Man, this is such a scam. The whole thing is a scam. And then they look at each other on both sides of the aisle and they complain about each other. Right? And
that's politics.
And they use the truth when it's convenient. When it's not convenient, they lie.
Right.
Right. And it just switches sides. Right. Today you're lying, and while you're using the truth, right? And then you flip the boat, and now you're telling the truth and you're lying. Right. It's bizarre.
It is really bizarre.
This is encapsulate everything else around this country in the fact that we are all stuck in this bubble of politics.
Yes.
Everything is about politics and power.
It really is.
So, it's I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what to say.
Pray.
But all these things are going on. Our time is winding up, but all these things are going on around us. We don't, right? I can't give you the answer. We're just raising up the problems and saying, look, here's things we got to deal with. And here's the problems why we can't deal with it, because everything is so intertwined and intertangled. I don't have time to get into what's happening in like the government systems. We deal a lot with government systems for business and stuff like that. And it's crazy what happens behind the scenes.
Yes.
I can't tell y'all some of the stories of things that go on in some of this stuff. But it is bizarre. Let's just put it away. How money is spent and how they choose to spend money throughout the government. It's just bizarre. That's all I can say on it. Sworn to secrecy. So anyway, folks, our time is winding up. Thankful for all those that came on, joined with us. Glad to see you, Sister Libby. Brother Carl,
my brother Carl. Hi,
Bishop,
brother. How you doing?
Bishop Clay is on.
Hi, hey, Bishop Clay.
Libby and I said, and Latasha.
Hi, Latasha.
For making yourselves known and hanging out with us for a little bit.
Exactly.
I hope that you've gotten something out of this, some insight. Yeah. And we will always have more to talk about, I'm sure, in weeks to come. We're going to be getting back into bringing some guests on. As well, coming up in the future. So lots still to come. Thanks for hanging with us. Make sure you share about the program and join us tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we'll be on 11:30 a.m. for our morning worship service. Looking forward to that. The presence of God has really been with us in these services and in Bible study. So we invite you to connect up with us tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. We're talking more about the power of the Holy Spirit and
power up.
Man, powering up.
Power up. Yes.
So join us tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. And Wednesday night, 7 o'clock as well. We'll continue on. You guys have a blessed night. I'm going to go find a nice hot tub as soon as I finish getting ready for tomorrow. And y'all weren't at the beginning. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Trust me, it is well needed.
We still have the rest of the evening. Our work is never done. We are not lazy people.
Everybody have a good evening.
Yes.
We'll look forward to seeing you next week and next time. Be blessed, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Seven